Well, we did 20 minutes that you and I and anybody else are never going to be able to hear or see. But
In other words, welcome to the show, everybody.
we are talking about what happened this week. We're talking about the Royal Rumble. We're going to actually be reviewing the 1992 and 1994 Royal Rumble. I have 1992 in the background right now. And look, it's going to be really weird to find the naturalness for what we just talked about.
No, dude, I can be angry at Tony Khan. I have no problem.
Let me run through the other stuff really quickly. We were talking about Dynamite this week, and I was impressed by Samoa Joe's promo skills. I was impressed. I thought it was crazy that Swerve and Hangman came out and nobody knew who to root for and support because they love all three of those guys.
And also, Samoa Joe has a new catchphrase that we're going to steal. Let's don't forget that. Right.
We're not putting up with hoe-ass comments, all right?
Hoe-ass comments on social media, dude.
You want to book an internet battle with Kris Tinkle and Vic here? You need to go to the committee. And you need to put in your request, and no more whining on the mic and no more hoe-ass comments on social media. Except if you're the boss of AEW.
Yeah, if you're the boss and you write checks, bring on the hoe comments.
And explain that again. We were talking about cage side and all the anger.
Okay, so what happened is last week, I believe, Tony Khan, during that press conference, he kept talking about cagenet.com and how that was what he was using as his barometer, which is essentially audience votes. So basically, like, if you were a filmmaker and you wanted to know what people were thought about you, it'd be like if Martin Scorsese went to Rotten Tomatoes and looked at the audience and not the critics. It was like, why do you care? So everyone was kind of like laughing at him, like cage match, really? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to trust a bunch of anonymous people to like make you sad or glad? Like, what are you doing? So he said that. And then I forget what the opportunity was. I want to say it was about gender. And then USA Network wrote a comment that said, yeah, but what was the cage match rating? Which was clearly, by the way, whoever did that, I'm sure they got a raise, dude. 2 million comments, 2 million views on that one comment. And very sly, didn't say anything about AEW, didn't mention anyone by name. Really sly. If you get it, you get it. Well, guess who got it, dude? And guess who blew up? Tony Khan saw this, took great offense, and then wrote this long diatribe about how it's not right that Jinder Mahal is getting a title shot. It's like, dude, it's not real, you fucking mark, dude. I'm sorry. I know I get one F word per episode, and that was it.
By the way, they came in and bragged about this rating system. Again, wrestling, I know the wrestlers don't like to hear that, but we're just being honest. Wrestling's fake. We know that. We love it. We appreciate the theater of it. It's amazing. So ratings, kind of stupid, but okay. And they're not even following through with that anymore, which was a big deal and part of the whole thing that they were pushing to make things realistic. So what's the point? What is the point of all this thing? And so to pick on Jinder Mahal, who's I think paid his dues, and again, this is the point I made in the unrecorded segment, was that I think Jinder Mahal's title run was legit. I think it served its purpose. I think they pushed hard with India. It got everybody mad, and we're talking about the Iron Sheik, who was invoked in the Rock Jinder Mahal thing. Nobody
was
praising the Iron Sheik back when he was a heel. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm gonna tag on to that. Well, that's what I was saying. The reason why a lot of people probably didn't like him is in the era of like everyone has to be cool. Like Swerve almost killed a baby, and he's still trying to be cool, and he still does his dance. So it's like people cheer. Dude, Jinder didn't want anyone to cheer him. Didn't give a shit. He had one job, and that was to be the bad guy.
So I think he did it. Style heel. JBL style heel. It's about heat. It's about getting that stuff. I hate to use the.
And I'm telling you, during that thing with The Rock, dude, there was like a minute where the audience knew that the audience knew that The Rock was coming, and they knew they had to sit through Jinder shitting on America. But there was a good minute part of that where he was saying some real bad stuff about the country, and people were getting real mad. You could tell it went from like, hey, so when's The Rock coming? It went from that to like, dude, who is this guy? Like you could feel, and that hasn't happened in a while, man. So,
No.
and then you're gonna pick on this dude who had a great night.
No.
Also, by the way, if you're gonna shit on him, that video with The Rock, I think 50 million views, if not more, I think.
Yeah. And by the way, so and then he's using it to prop up Hook. And all due respect to Taz and to Hook.
Oh yeah, so explain that now. So explain, he's shitting on the a company he doesn't even work for doing the same exact thing that he's doing in his company when he's like he needs a title match. So he's pulling a dude from nowhere who really hasn't been on the top. He's doing the same thing.
And did you see what Jinder Mahal put out there?
Who the fuck is Hook? And watch Raw on USA Network. Yeah. Dude, I was so happy for that dude. He got interviewed and he was just laughing about it. I don't know if you saw the interview. No, but they interviewed him and he just like, he's total positive. He didn't say anything about any of the other stuff. He just like, yeah, I've been trending for 48 hours, dude. And like, it's you know what? It reminds me a lot of the Eric Bischoff. Oh, that's really going to keep butts in the seats. It would really, really remind me of that kind of idiot. Like,
I say give Jinder Mahal the belt. Give him the belt.
I mean,
headline night one of WrestleMania at this point. Why not?
Dude, I was thinking about it. You could do that, dude. You could get the belt off of Seth Rollins because Rollins and Punk doesn't have to be for a belt. That's a great match. And then Jinder can lift someone else newer up, like whoever they want to, maybe even Gunther, maybe like a champion versus champion. Do that one, dude. Have Gunther get over him then, or like, but I mean, you could do it, and it's almost funny to do it now, just because. I mean, I'm sure it's going to ruin. I'm sure they won't, but you kind of want them to do it now, just because it's like F you, dude. Like, why you? And Jinder Mahal, he's not even dude. He's Canadian.
Ho-ass comments.
Ho-ass comments.
Ho-ass comments. We're not tolerating that. Not at all.
Isn't that funny that Joe said that? And he was clearly talking about his boss who just did some, like.
I think it could go other way because Hook was saying stuff about Joe too, like in character.
Okay.
But
so then he accidentally was talking about his boss then.
Yeah.
It's amazing either way. Either way, dude.
It parallels real life. Again, way to go, Tony. You're really paralleling.
And way to go, Joe, because that's how people talk in real life, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to know those hoe ass comments on social media. That's like if like a WWE writer would have wrote that, they would have been like, those disrespectful things you say online. But Joe just got right to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Gee, that's so funny. So like, what would you do? What would you do? Like, dude, what would you do if you were Joe, dude? If you were Joe, and even though that guy is your boss and he's making you, but you're obviously Joe, so if anyone could say anything like, bro, what are you doing online? Like, is someone, I mean, I guess someone's had to talk to him, but I don't think he listens, dude. I don't think so.
Speaking of Joe, did you see the DJ Woo Kid interview with Sam Roberts and Jim Norton? Apparently he witnessed brawl in.
I started listening to it and it sounded a little fake, so I just stopped. But was it good?
He was exaggerating, but he made it sound like Samoa Joe, like that CM Punk wouldn't go out and fight Samoa Joe, and that Samoa Joe was more involved in this fight than it was. It was very like all over the place, but I was trying to figure out what was going on. But he made CM Punk more the bad guy, of course, and made it about, and for some reason just invoked Samoa Joe a little more.
That's why Jungle Boy is like such a great little shit, dude. Is because like Punk didn't do anything wrong except for like in like real.
He's saying it got to be like an actual real fight in the beginning. And then Samoa Joe was like, no, we're going out there. We're going to have this match. And
that's what I think. Yeah, I did read that Joe was like pretty much pulled him aside and was like, dude, we're not going to do this match. You know what I mean? There's 70,000 people here. What are we got? Like not going to wrestle now? Yeah. So I guess he gave him the little talking to. Dude, just like CM Punk walking out of that thing. I love watching that because he has this look on his face like, this mother, like he's have a look on his face like I've had when I quit a job. and I'm walking down the sidewalk away from the building, and my mind is exploding. It's like CM Punk had that look as he's walking to the ring, just like, dude, I'm over this.
You know what's crazy is that I thought Dynamite was really intriguing yesterday. I
Wednesday
like
night,
that
January 11th, 10th.
Yes, January 10th. But but the only thing that was weird was I have no idea where. I mean, I know Hook is in the future, but I don't have any idea where it's going to go after that with Joe. And how irrelevant the Undisputed Kingdom after that big old thing with MJF and everything. MJF disappears. MJF, when he was there, it was a story, but it just died to me. It's like it's just downhill. Like I watch the promos, I don't care. I don't care about the Kingdom. I mean, we didn't care about Mike Bennett in WWE. We didn't care about the Kingdom. I mean, was the
Although
Kingdom that good in Ring of Honor?
Mike Bennett and his wife milked like $500,000 out of that company, dude. And I find that, dude, he got hired for WWE. He went to rehab. He got taken off the road. Then they got back on the road, and then they just made him a jobber. And then they brought her on the road, and then she got pregnant. They literally got paid to do. I think he wrestled like 20 times, and then she used them. I guess you can get like if you are a former employee, they will pay for your college. So then not only and then they milked them for college money on top of taking their money. Oh, God bless, dude. If you're gonna like screw the evil empire, Mike Bennett and his wife did it perfect.
I really wanted to see how that whole storyline panned out, but unfortunately he got battled his demons. But he was using her name, remember?
Yeah, they made him he was using her name, and it was like some like cheesy love ballad they were walking out to, and he was like a big pussy, dude. And that was like she had the balls and he didn't, which, I don't know why he would agree to that, because it's not like you're not gonna get a title shot with Roman Reigns if you're acting like that you don't have any balls and your wife is I mean, you kind of set yourself up for a limited amount of can't do much, dude. You're like a joke unless she's constantly cheating and making you win. But I mean, I don't know. I thought it was really funny, but then I also was like, he's kind of deep, like dead in the water.
Yeah, it was. Tavern doesn't strike me as someone. And again, I didn't watch them a lot in Taven in ROH. Wardlow. I mean, they've just ruined anything Wardlow has ever had. And then
Taven and Bennett are both great, but they were brought in. I mean, that's what sucks is they're both really good like wrestlers. Like they would be welcome to go to NXT and be like the older guys who brings everybody up. Yeah. But
I don't understand. I just don't understand that group. And I don't find Adam Cole compelling as he only works as a fun heel. And this isn't a fun heel.
No, because he's
like out there bragging about how they're going to get the world title, and then,
Oh, you mean he was bragging about how he was going to do the same storyline as they're doing in another one on the same show, where someone wins the belt and you just ask them for it and they give it to you because you can't win on your own.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Christian and Kill Switch. This is the same exact thing.
Kill Switch Source. They should just call him Kill Switch Source.
Dude, get off a cage match. You jerk off and fix your house first. Fix your house.
Let's go through a bunch of the rando stuff here, and we are abbreviated for time this week, folks, but we promise you this is a good show, and also we will make it up to you next week. They got the tribute to Brody Lee, and I'm going to tell you this too, and I don't think it's mean to say this, but they've adopted Brody Lee as their own. I know he passed unexpectedly, and I was a big Brody Lee fan as well. I think he was better as Luke Harper, but again, things work out the way they work out, and they honor him randomly whenever they feel like they want to honor him. But I find it to be weird. I missed the part where why were they honoring him yesterday? Just because they were in Daly's place?
I think so, and I think it's like. I think the anniversary of his death was on Christmas, I think, dude. Well, so I mean, I figured they're going to do something, but I mean, they didn't.
Not anniversary, but it's been how many years now?
2 years, 3 years, 3.
It's been 3 years already. That's crazy.
2 or 3, yeah.
Look, it's just very random. Like, do an honor thing. I hate how they do this stuff for Owen Hart and all these things like that because it's just not their number one, it's not their history. And I don't know, you could be honoring every dead wrestler at this point.
Yeah.
I know that sounds cruel or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? They got to find a better way to honor him. Put his face on a belt, put him on the TNT belt or something. Do something different than it was just weird having this kind of emotional match and everyone's trying to get it. And it's like, oh, we lost him 2 years ago. And this is where, it's like, okay. And I know it meant a lot to the wrestlers. It meant a lot to the fans too, but it meant a lot more. This was like a more of a wrestler thing. And then randomly you had like number one, Edge is coming out there and he's wearing a baseball cap and just looked weird. And then you had I forget what his name is now. Number 10. What's his name?
Preston Vance.
Preston Vance, who's with La Faction.
Yeah, dude, you're talking about bringing somebody who's not on the top and giving them a big spot on a show. Hello, Preston Vance, dude.
Yeah.
Little tiny Tony.
Then they had a weird thing, and then his heel manager was with them.
But he was a face, though. Like, make sure you say that part in this story. Like, they were faces.
Because they were with the faces. It was just a weird
in real life. I know that Brody and that Preston dude were like very, very close. And I think that he really helped that Preston Vance dude a lot. But I mean, all this is like I don't get touched because like Abaddon gets to wrestle for the belt in October. I know that in late December, Anna Jay is going to win a match and Preston Vance are going to win a match in Brody Lee's honor. So it's not like, it's not really,
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, his kid going to start wrestling in like 6 years is a big enough thing. We don't,
It's just very weird. And then they're honoring what's his name was the six. What's his name? He's in. I already forgot. Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne's dad, who nobody has any connection to at all. Nobody grew up watching him. He was a regional wrestler, and I know he's important to Darby. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be. You know what?
Yeah, no one gives a shit, dude.
And again, Brody Lee's a little different. I'm not talking about this, but I feel like they do this stuff all the time. Owen Hart, nothing that didn't happen. They don't have a Hart working for them or whatever. And they do all this stuff, and it's just, what if I was working for AEW? Pretend I'm a wrestler, and I go in there and I just say, my dad was really important to me. I know I'm a heel, but this week my dad was a big fan of Hulk Hogan, so I'm going to go out there and I want to wrestle, but I'm going to wrestle in memory of my dad, and I want you to put up this picture of him. And I also want you to be like, because he was a fan, he represents the fans. And I want everybody to root for me like a heel. I'm going to do a bunch of Hogan stuff. They probably would let me do that.
Dude, not only would they let you do it, he would pay to have the like Real American song for you and pyro when you walked out. Dude, it would be a $50,000 like budget for your tribute.
I'm just saying it just like I miss Brody Lee and everything, but what's funny is there's a double-edged sword too, because if and we'll see it, because right now they're still trying to help the family for Bray Wyatt, but next year, let's just say they kept putting out new merch every year, and it wasn't even for the family or something. They would be critical of them so much. What's crazy is that like Terry Funk died and Bray Wyatt died, and they honored both of them. I don't expect the WWE to honor them again next year. Like,
no.
who does that? And I feel like people have their hard enough personal time coping with this. Clearly, these people have a hard time coping with Brody Lee. And again, I feel like crap, but maybe I'm more cynical because I lost my dad when I was 7. I've lost a lot of people, and but at the same time, every birthday or Christmas or something, it's like cool to put an Instagram post, especially if I'm really thinking about somebody. But I don't throw an event to honor them and expect everybody to do that at work too. Like it's just a weird thing. Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say it's kind of similar to what we were saying, but remember when like Jade Cargill was like a big heel and she won the belt, and then And then like the big heel won and cheated, and then she like picked up her daughter who was in the audience. Remember that? And then she like walked with her daughter and the belt.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, what do you like? He doesn't want it to be wrestling. He just wants to have like exhibition matches, and then cage match people will give it 5 stars or whatever.
And it takes you out of it. You know what the match? I don't know. I really don't know. I maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
Oh
I'll
no,
admit
you're
that.
not, dude. It's 100%.
And I'm like,
Like,
Edge is coming out. He's not really in character.
dude,
And
Edge is probably just like, what did I do? Well, I mean, he was gonna get
no,
jobbed
he
out over
loved.
there.
This is what
You
happens
think
when you
so?
want to be the cool guy all the time. He wanted to hang out with FTR and he wanted to have matches with Christian and FTR, except he forgot that we've all seen the Christian stuff. We all saw it like 20 years ago, the Christian feud, at various places and times. Nobody wants to see Adam Copeland. They want to see Edge. And he really hasn't been Edge. I don't think he has. I don't think he has. This whole feud is telegraphed. If anything, I think it's hurt Christian who was actually proving that the WWE really just underrated him. They could have got way more out of him. But that's a Vince thing, and even with that, he still has accomplished so much. And then he accomplished stuff in TNA and everything. It's so that was great. His run in TNA was great for him.
He's been champion in all 3, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's been AEW champion, but he's Impact champion,
Well, he's TNT champion.
TNT
He's
champion,
getting there.
and then WWE champion.
I don't see, and this is another thing too. I don't see how you give the big belt. You give it to Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe brings credibility. What does giving that belt to Edge or Christian do? It's just a vanity project that doesn't move the needle anywhere.
Yeah.
Christian's actually making the TNT belt right now, and they don't need to be. They don't need to be doing this. So again, that was a random thing from the show. Then this giant, I didn't even watch. I fast forwarded through it because I watched on delay. The 8 women tag match. I don't know why they have a bunch of 8 people tag matches at the event.
I think it was all because of the Brody thing, I think.
And then, and here's the thing, because I'm watching Ric Flair put on a friggin' clinic in the Royal Rumble that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Ric Flair's putting on a clinic. And then we have this disastrous match between where we're supposed to believe that Powerhouse Hobb, who is big, black, and what's the other part of his catchphrase?
Big black, and I don't know. All I know is the other shirt says "I break backs."
Yeah. He breaks
all of
back.
his stuff could all be like subtitles for like black.com.
He's big, black, and bad. That guy is
big,
amazing.
black, and bad. That's it.
And Tanahashi, give me the pronouncer of those ones for me. Takesha, yeah. I said Tanahashi. I'm way off.
It looks like take a shit, but it's pronounced Takesha.
And they come out and they have a fight with a 64, whatever how old he is, 66-year-old man.
Sting? Was it Sting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I didn't watch the last 45 minutes because I had it, dude.
And an emo skateboarder that weighs 130 pounds if he's soaking wet.
Darby
Allin. And it's again another predictable thing, and the fact that they let Sting do that final bump where he Scorpion Death Drop Powerhouse Hobbs, it shows how stupid they are. Number one, that could have been terrible they didn't hit it right. Sting looked like he was really hurting after that match. Could have killed the Powerhouse Hobbs, and I'm not blaming Sting, I'm blaming them. You know, it's always something, and they don't treat that man like he's in his 60s, and they should, because the whole point is, he's out there basically now. His uniform is a t-shirt, glove, a long sleeve t-shirt, gloves,
yeah.
and pants and slacks.
He's got undershirts. He's got on like thermal bottoms. He is covered up, dude. You can't see any skin on him.
And they treat him like King Kong. And I get into the fantasy of it because I don't want to see Sting, I don't want to see Sting like that. And so we have this disaster of a match, and we're supposed to believe that they beat Hobbs and like did no favors for the Callis family. And then one of them again, we talk about irresponsible with the finish. The fact that they did you watch Ric Flair? And we're watching him do a clinic here in 1991. He's right now he's getting choked out by the Undertaker in the corner. And then you watch him January 10th on Dynamite, and he gets in the ring and does a couple of the weakest chops I've ever seen him do. And we're trying to step through the ropes on the way out because things were moving. And I'm just like, why are they letting this? This is like a hazard for this old man.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I noticed earlier in the show too, Jake the Snake came out with Lance Archer and he did some physical contact. And the people around Lance Archer like push him. Like it almost felt like he's like, dude, you're not supposed to like do anything. Like he had this look. I don't know if you saw it, but he had a look.
I didn't see that part. No,
he gave him a little look like, dude, you go the fuck over there, buddy. You're not supposed to touch anyone. You know, you've got
and again,
permanent pneumonia for the rest of your life.
Jake's a certain age, but he doesn't look cool anymore. And you know what I remember when I worked at a certain company, the Oak Ridge Boys. Remember the Oak Ridge Boys?
Wait, hold on. Papa, papa, mama. There we go. Elvira, giddy up.
This is like 10 or 12 years ago, which is still not that long ago.
The Oak Ridge Boys.
And I think finally some of them are dead because those guys were country staples. Okay. And I'm not trying to get you in the country. I was a country, but for the place I was working, they would come in because they were being remarketed. And somebody thought it was a smart idea to have them cover Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes.
Live on your show?
No, like they did a record and they got repackaged as like the Oak Ridge Boys, and they sang their version of Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. I'm gonna set them off like that. Like, I mean,
is it awesome or is it the worst thing ever, or both at the same time?
I think it's both. You're gonna have to look it up. Please look it up.
Dude, I'm listening to this as soon as I get. Yeah.
Now, two members of the Oak Ridge, one of the members for sure he's bald and he has a beard, and it's not like ZZ Top, like kind of dirty blonde. It is like white all the way down to, his waist. The guy is like, and these guys you're talking are in their late 60s to almost 80s.
Yeah, well, they were like when they were blowing up, they were kind of older. Like I remember, like they were in their 40s, like a while ago.
Right, and I'm spending way too much time on this, but I just want to make this point, okay? So these guys are now in their late 60s, 70s. Let's just be safe on that, okay? They've been repackaged. They're doing a cover of a relatively modern song. This is 12 years ago, around then. So this is the 2010, 11, right? Maybe even a little sooner. And they've been repackaged, and these old guys that were once seen on Country Music Channel are wearing designer suits. They always do it. One of them has a fedora on. The other one has, and the guy's clearly the 70s, jet black hair. There's at least 3 soul patches done. And the guy with the long beard that you couldn't hide was old and didn't want to. You could tell he didn't want to change his whole look. He wanted to stay with the beard and be the same way he's always been. They put a bandana on him. Okay, I really want you to look this up and see.
Oh, dude, I got it right. I got it right here, buddy. I'm getting ready to watch it as soon as we're done.
It was the saddest thing ever. And and it's the music business and everything. So when I see Ric Flair come in there and he's trying to dress cool, but we're talking about Jake Roberts, and they wrap that guy, and Jake Roberts is old enough. I don't think he's going to be losing that gut. And I'm talking to someone who has a gut. And they wrap him in this faux snakeskin blazer. And he's sitting there with the Murder Hawk, a.k.a. White Trash Damian Priest.
A.k.a. the kindest eyes I've ever seen in my entire life.
The kindest eyes.
I can't believe him as a heel, dude. He has the kindest eyes.
Yeah. And he's got the 3 crosses of Jesus on his back, lower back. Remember that, folks. Anyway, that's what that reminds me with the Oak Ridge Boys. It's just I remember seeing them come in, and they'd come in. You wanted to take a picture with them, and I couldn't do it because I was like, because they were famous. Like my grandma knows they were. My, Elvira's a famous song.
If you were over 40 in the 80s, you definitely knew who the Oak Ridge Boys were, I think. And what's funny is the Oak Ridge Boys have that one dude in the group that has like the bass thing. He's like the goody up boom. And it's funny is like white country groups have the same guy as like Boyz II Men. Boyz II Men also had like the dude with the bass voice who stays in the back, and then when it's his turn, he's like, "Girl, I'm sorry I cheated on you." You know what I mean? So it's cool that the Oak Ridge Boys for country had the same thing.
AOP is back, and Corey Graves surprised me because they haven't been back. They've been on 4 years.
NXT.
Back on
NXT.
No, AOP is back on
me.
SmackDown.
SmackDown, yes. AOP is back.
And they have aligned themselves with Karrion Kross, and Paul Ellering is back with them.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool shot.
Which was the one thing that killed him. Oh, yeah. Remember, they thought Paul Ellering was too old, and they replaced him with Drake Maverick, and then it just never worked.
No, because Paul Ellering is like, it's crazy how good he looks. He's like 70 something, right?
Yeah, he's 70 now. So they were complaining about him 4 or 5 years ago when he was younger, and now he's 70. And yeah. And Paul Ellering's amazing. It's so crazy to think he's the last one because the Road Warriors are gone. Both of them.
And AOP is great. And that one guy, he's a former MMA fighter. I believe he is the taller of the guys. I think he is Armenian guy, and he fought for Bellator, I think 2 fights or 1 fight.
Albanian, but he's
Albanian.
He's okay. Dutch Albanian.
Holy moly!
And then the other one,
I was way off.
I was looking it up last night. What is the other one? He's Canadian nationality, but what is his history? I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's don't guess wrong. We don't want.
Those guys got a good look, and they should be. And they did the Super Collider, and I think it's good too because they're finally doing something with Karrion Kross. They're finally going to push them with the Lashley, which is like they won't call them the new Hurt Business, but they're the improved Hurt Business.
It's so dumb, dude. Like,
what are they doing with MVP right now?
Oh, did you hear about MVP?
What did he do?
Oh my God, dude. So the news came out, dude. We can go into Jericho later, but this is a Jericho thing.
Oh, that he knocked out.
He knocked him out on his own cruise ship.
Yeah. MVP's badass. I like
dude.
MVP.
So yeah, MVP knocked him out cold, and then then they got to something at a hotel.
That's the second thing, yeah.
And that was 2 years. That was already after he knocked him out, dude. And so now it's even funnier. Like when you heard that Jericho, he fed all the info to Meltzer or whatever, and his thing was, yeah, I got in an elevator and I said, I don't fight jobbers. But it's like he like left out the part that he had got knocked out by him 2 years earlier. So yeah, you actually don't fight, dude. You get punched once and go to bed.
That was another lame thing from by the way, from Dynamite yesterday with I don't think there's any excitement about Jericho and Guevara versus Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
And also, I don't know if you noticed, but it was all over that they had cranked up the audio. They kept Jericho's music on full blast during the entire segment, so you couldn't hear the boos.
Obviously, he's a it's funny. That's another thing with Tony Khan is he has all these standards and talks crap about other people and Randy Orton and other folks, but he's defending Jericho because he's a big Jericho fan.
Randy Orton is the only dude who can be allowed to go on social media and act like a hoe-ass because he's really funny on. Like he only jumps on like once a month, but when he does, do you remember that time? Remember that time when the Young Bucks put some clip of their flippies, and then Randy Orton wrote back, "Cool, but you didn't touch him." I love that guy, dude. Or then when he told Tommaso Ciampa, "Sweet, I'll come by NXT." What time is leg slap practice? Dude, that is so mean, dude. And unfortunately, it was to Ciampa, who I love a lot, but it was. Oh, what time is leg slap practice?
Well, they actually had Ciampa get a win Monday. I was so worried those guys were going to get buried, but beat Finn Balor, believe it or not.
Ciampa's great. Johnny Gargano is just like another small dude, but Ciampa's great, dude.
Yeah. By the way, so we were talking about NXT, and one of the notable things is I'm curious what they're doing with Lexis King
NXT on Tuesday night.
on Tuesday night. But Lexis King was going to challenge Dragon, or he did challenge Dragon Lee, right?
Yeah,
And
he like
and he
dude. I didn't watch it, but he had dialogue with the Rock's daughter.
yeah,
I didn't even bother. I just saw them talking, and I
and then she's like, "Okay, Alexis, you're gonna have the title belt with Dragon Lee. I talked to Shawn Michaels. Okay, I feel like that's how she.
that's pretty good, dude. I don't know if you know who my dad is, but he famous. I don't know why I just made her sound like Forrest Gump.
Samoa Joe talking about those hoe ass comments. It's like weird. But Oba Femi, who by the way makes history because he's the first NIL um, person to
NIL is next in line, right?
name
That's the bridge.
name image likeness deal.
Oh, I thought it was called Next in Line.
No, well, that might be the name of the program, but essentially this is how they're paying all these college students now and everything. And these college students are playing football, and the WWE is recruiting them just like colleges are, and saying, "Hey, if you sign this name, image, likeness deal, and say you're going to work for us afterwards, we'll support you through college." And basically, they pay them to use their name, image, likeness, which is the one thing that actually it's funny because everybody was rooting for it for these college players, but it's actually kind of ruining college football right now. But because now college football and college sports are like the NFL. They're just these people are showing up like Deion Sanders kids who are college students have Rolls Royces because they have deals with other companies. Does that make sense? Am I throwing too much out?
Oh no, yeah.
So this guy, they signed a deal with him. They're like, "Hey, look, we want you to work with us and do this, and we'll pay you money, and you continue to go to school, play football or whatever." But
And let's be
if
honest,
it's
he is their answer to Ngannou.
yeah, he's a
He
Nigerian
yeah.
player. He's 22 years old, by the way,
He looks like he's 40, dude.
and he went to
Explosive athleticism. Holy moly. Holy
he
moly.
he went to Middle Tennessee State, and then he transferred to the University of Alabama. He's a shot putter.
Oh, really?
Wow, I thought he was a football player. No, he was a shot putter. So you get what I'm saying here. Like, this is a good thing because they're signing these kids up. They say you have potential, but you can still do your shot putting and we'll pay you real money. You just kind of have to commit to us after college, almost like the military does.
Yeah.
That's how they're kind of using it. And here's this guy who was a big ass shot putter from Nigeria, and they sign him up.
He's a big boy, dude.
That is a big, big boy. But congratulations to him. And
Oh yeah,
Lexis King.
so he came out then, right? He was
Yeah, they have all these contract deals, but everything's like money in the bank now. That's my biggest
yeah.
complaint about it. Everything is money in the bank, and I don't know necessarily if I like that. But oh well, it's what they did. So he came out, and after Dragon Lee faced, I don't know if they're going to make him a heel or whatever, but he took advantage of Dragon Lee. But actually, you know why they probably did it is because Dragon Lee's supposed to be on SmackDown.
Yeah, I think it was only in NXT for a bit just to get like his bearings, which is what they kind of do to everybody.
Let's talk about it, dude, because the Royal Rumble is the 27th. It is January 11th here when we're talking. And you and I were getting nostalgic about famous Rumble matches. Now, I want to put this out there, and we're going to talk about this next week. I've been to one Royal Rumble. I've only been to one, two, three. I think I've been to 4 WWE events. ECW One Night Stand 2006,
Oof.
which was sort of like the old ECW, and I have crazy stories that we'll talk about on that one day, but when it's appropriate. And I went to a WWE live event. I went to an event to see Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy in the old blue steel cage
Oh
at
my God.
the Fresno Convention Center when I was 5 with my old man.
Oh my gosh.
He was not old and wasn't old when he died, but it's crazy. That one I have some memories, and me and my brother and my dad and his friend. Um and the other one is Royal Rumble at Chase Field. God, now it seems like so long ago. My nephew turned 12. He's 14 years now. Was that 2 years ago?
The what?
My nephew turned 10. He turned 10. So 4 years ago, I saw them at Chase Field.
Okay.
Okay. And they had the women's men's match. And I think, if I remember correctly, the big deal with that one was which was the highlight of it. And we'll talk about that next week. Was Nia Jax came out in the men's match. And the only person that can get away with still hitting a woman, which is now a wrestling no-no, unless you're in one of these indie promos that likes to do the mixed stuff, is Randy Orton. And Randy Orton RKO'd Nia Jax.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
that was the highlight of the whole thing. I got to see Elias come out. It was pretty good. Anyway, so we'll talk about that next week if you want to, just like a real life experience. We'll go over that. But again, I don't know if this was said in the pre-show, but 1992, 93, 94 were probably 3 of the greatest Royal Rumbles ever. We're skipping 93, but we're going to go to 92. And it's famous for many, many reasons, but that was the first time that the WWE Championship was on the line, and whoever won the Royal Rumble won it. And you had Hulk Hogan in this thing, Sid Justice, not Sid Vicious,
Sid
Sid
Justice.
Justice. You had the $1 Million Man. Number one, let's talk about this.
You got the Macho Man.
Let's run through it a little bit. Oh, it was amazing.
Oh, and dude, let's just on commentary. We got Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, who honestly should have been nominated for an Emmy for his performance in this 1 hour. Because he was Ric Flair's like manager, sort of. So he just would not lay off the entire time. And it's like the funniest hour of commentary. Like he's in it, dude. He goes up and down as the match goes. He's doing well. Oh, don't talk to him. It's just like it's nonstop. He's like giving the audience what Flair is thinking from him. Oh, it's so great. It's so great.
Because Heenan is the best. You can't fight that. And as much as I love Paul Heyman is a second. It's like Paul Heyman. There's some records in football and baseball where the guy that's like Cal Ripken Jr. has, I think he beat Lou Gehrig, and he has like 3,000 something games. And then you look
for
at
the Iron Man, right?
Yeah, and then you look at like the next active person, and
It's
they're
like 70.
they're like, yeah, they're like way far behind or whatever.
And and also if you want to be clear, Cal Ripken won the Iron Man award, which was the guy who he played the most games without ever taking a break. So it came to like 3,000 games, which is like 9 years or like 10 years where he never missed a game.
And he beat an iconic man.
And he was all-star.
Yeah.
And he was good.
And they beat an iconic man in Lou Gehrig, they made a movie about him because literally he stopped playing only because he got ALS, which was then called Lou Gehrig's disease. Anyway, and then people try to use that to shit on Cal Ripken, but Cal Ripken was the man. Met him once, like briefly. So he didn't even say much to me, but he was like very nice. He's like, hey, usually you walk up to someone of that caliber, you're like, that's the Iron Man. And just the fact that I'm walking up just to shake his hand and tell him you're great is annoying. And he didn't treat you like that. So I'm like, you know what, Cal Ripken, you're A-okay in my book. But yeah, so
he's like, let me guess, I'm your favorite.
So when we're talking about the Brain Heenan is like number one, but there's a big space between him and Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman is
I
up
can't
there.
believe you put Heyman number. I was trying to be quiet over here, but I'm like, dude, Jim Cornette.
I like Heyman more than Cornette.
Oh,
I think they're close. They're closer, but
it's
not
like
Heenan.
It's like you got to pick what kind of scumbag you're into. Are you into the East Coast scumbag where he's gonna like screw over his employees, or are you gonna be like the South, the Southern scumbag, and be a little loosey goosey in your personal life and get in a little trouble?
Heyman had more style, I think. But anyway, I thought Cornette was a little more cartoony for my taste, but I don't have a problem with him. I'm not making fun of Jim Cornette or nothing, but that's the thing. So Heenan is amazing, and then but my point on the whole thing was you forget because everybody loves Gorilla Monsoon, but Gorilla Monsoon was at the top of his game too, and you put them together, they were probably the best tandem in wrestling. You think about that because I love Tony Schiavone, Tony Schiavone, and was great. But you go through and it's like it's Schiavone and then a bunch of other people. But when you have and they had that run, it was Heenan and Monsoon. I mean, they were amazing. Anything they did, all those vignettes for primetime wrestling and all-star wrestling, amazing.
Dude, when Monsoon's like, will you stop constantly? Oh, it's so great, dude. Brain, will you stop? Dude, Brain was just getting all like when Flair came out third, and he's like, no. Oh, it's so dude, he's so good. It's such a great performance. It really is, man.
I always remember this because I'm Mexican, probably, but when WrestleMania, and I don't know if it was with Monsoon, but this is Heenan popped out to me. The opening match is the Matador Tito Santana.
I was just gonna say that.
And the Reba McEntire sang the national anthem, and she was a big deal back then, still is a big deal. And he goes, "Yeah, that's Tito Santana's sister." And I forget if it was McMahon or Monsoon, but they're like, "What?" And he's like, "That's Tito Santana's sister." And he's like, how do you figure? And he goes, Reba. Like that. It was so cheesy, but I never forgot that. It was so funny. He's like, "Will you stop it?" The same thing. I was like, "Cut it out.
Will you stop?"
You just sit there making fun of Reba McEntire. That's hilarious. But
dude, when you were a kid and when the Matador came out, did you really think you ever had a chance of winning? Or did you like, was he like your dude? Like, you're like, he's Mexican, I'm Mexican, Matador's gonna take the whole thing. Or did you know that he was gonna lose?
Number one, and I'm gonna be honest with this. Hulk Hogan was my dude. Everybody loved. I was talking to my mom about this last night while I was making her watch Dark Side Wrestling with me. Because she's down here visiting. My dad was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. And it's funny because we went to that one event and I had three posters in my room. One, my dad was a big Bruce Lee fan, and he handmade with a bunch of magazine things, Bruce Lee and all these kung fu magazines, karate magazines, kicking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and everybody on it. And I'm so mad at my grandparents because they let somebody come and just take it after he died. But anyway, and there was two wrestling posters, and you'll be surprised at one of them. One of them was Hulk Hogan. And it was him, posing, and it had three boxes, and it was each step of the leg drop, and it said Hulkamania under, which I wish I had that to this day. If I could find that, I'd buy it. I'd spend some money on that one. And the other one, which I want even more, which would probably make me look like a weirdo at 40 in my 40s if I put that one on the wall, but I would do it out of nostalgia, was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, all in his baby oil glory, just posing down.
Interesting, because it's interesting that your dad had him up there because he turned on Hulk Hogan, dude.
Yeah, but this was when he finally came. I think this was the era. You're talking, I was 5 years old, so they're talking 86, 87.
I think he turned on him, dude. I remember, this is going to be so weird. I was my parents used to help run this gigantic concert. It was called Mountain Air, and every summer it would be like a weekend, and people would camp out, and it would have like Journey. Dude, when I was like 5, I got to see like Men at Work, ZZ Top. So they'd have all these like. So I remember when I was out there, my parents were working for this festival. My dad brought this little black and white TV that was like 6 inches. It was like this big. And I watched the Saturday Night Main Event with Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff on the same team. And I'm like little and I'm watching it outside. And then that was when Paul Orndorff turned on Hulk Hogan. And I was just like, it was like outside. I'm like, no, I screamed, no. I knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah, he did.
You know that was when Paul Orndorff, because he was injured and he didn't go get surgery done because that feud was like a multi-million-dollar. Like he made all of his money during that feud, and so he didn't go get surgery or go get checked out, and because of that, I guess later on he really paid the price.
Yeah, that's why his arm was always smaller than the other one.
Yeah.
But man, Mr. Wonderful. Remember they had that weird, and I thought it was a dream, believe it or not. But remember he had that weird thing in WCW where he lost all his confidence, and there was this famous infomercial guy that wore like a white sponge helmet. It was weird, but it was true. I have to look it up. We're gonna have to just talk about that randomly one of these days.
Yeah, well, let's do like a special Paul Orndorff one of these days.
Dude,
I thought Paul Orndorff, Pretty Wonderful was pretty awesome. I think on one of the ones that I watched that match. It was on the card, and I forgot all about them. And it was like, oh, dude, like Paul Roma was really good. Yeah. Paul Orndorff, he was getting older, but he knew what he was the old man of the group. So good, man. So good. Pretty wonderful.
Pretty wonderful. I'll tell you this. Everybody talks about robes. They're obsessed with Ric Flair's robe. I want a robe. I would take a Mr. Wonderful robe with the one. It was like the number one.
Durful. Yeah.
And it is just so random to me, but I like that.
Durful.
So the match starts off with British Bulldog and Ted DiBiase.
And this is the Rumble.
The Rumble. And so start off with British Bulldog, Ted DiBiase for, was it 5 minutes? Or 3 minutes?
I think it was. Well, I think
always go back and forth between.
I think this is back in the day when they didn't really like measure it all. I think it was like sometimes it was 2 minutes, sometimes it was a minute, sometimes it was 3 minutes.
Well, and we all know Ric Flair won. He was in there for an hour and 2 seconds.
And so hold on a second. So 3. was this Flair's first match? It wasn't his first match there, right?
It wasn't his first match, but
he just got there though, correct?
Correct. And they needed someone to take the belt. I forget though why it was dormant. And
they were calling him the real world champion, right? Because he just took the WCW belt with him. And then they had it like pixelated.
Right. Well, he had the real world championship, as they were calling it.
Yes.
But according to the storyline, this is when Savage and Flair were going at it. Savage had the belt. Flair claimed that he had a previous relationship with Miss Elizabeth. You got to imagine Macho Man wasn't happy about that because you know how he was about Miss Elizabeth. And he put out pictures. This culminated the match at WrestleMania 5, 6, 7, 8. Savage wins the match and his second and final championship. This was the first Royal Rumble in which stakes were involved for the winner. The stipulation doesn't explain here. Oh, that was the aftermath. Duh, Victor. It was the winner of the Royal Rumble. They had been stripped it from Hogan after 2 controversial title switches between Hogan and The Undertaker. First at Survivor Series 91 and then at Tuesday in Texas's pay-per-view. Hogan and The Undertaker were among the 30 entrants in the event. Okay. So this was because of Hogan and The Undertaker. And the funny thing about Hulk Hogan was, and you kind of see it a little bit in this matchup. So The Undertaker came in, surprised him, beat him for the belt, right? And he won it back, but he pulled ashes out of the urn and threw them in his eyes. And he cheated because Hogan would cheat. They don't talk
No,
about
Hogan's
it.
a cheater, dude.
Yeah, he would cheat.
Dude, let's talk about when he fucking pulls out Sid out of the ring. Oh, dude, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, no, and we'll get into it now because so they have this. It's this great match, and Flair's just in there throughout it. But the notable stuff happens at the end, like it should. And the notable thing is that Sid throws Hogan out. And from my account of it, it's happening right now as we speak.
It was fair and square.
It was
he did nothing wrong.
Square. They had gotten in. They were buddies in storyline, and then something happened, and then Sid abandoned him, and then they became not buddies, and Sid started being the bad guy. And in real life, apparently, Sid they wanted to make Sid a babyface or keep him. That's why he came in a babyface, but he really wanted to be a heel. So it's funny because Hogan just threw Flair up, and Flair was going to do the flip around. You know how he does that in the turnbuckle?
Yeah.
He couldn't quite make it over. And there he is. So he's trying to get Flair. Sid comes up from behind him. That's all fair game, man.
Yeah.
That is all fair game. I cannot believe that. So then they're fighting. They had been doing this. Let's watch it right now. I'm watching it. I don't give you play-by-play. I'm not as good as Keenan or Monsoon. So they're barking at each other, and he put his arm out at one point.
Yeah, so this is when Hulk Hogan's already on the floor. He already got thrown out.
He grabs it, and Flair goes over and tosses him over, and that's it. Ric Flair is your champion. So Hulk Hogan and Sid's thing was the whole catalyst for it.
Yeah, dude, Sid did nothing wrong. Hogan just grabbed his arm and threw him over the top because he's a sore loser, dude.
Flair has crazy hair. He's in the middle of the ring, but they're still showing all the shenanigans.
Yeah, he did have a bad haircut then.
And this was the most interesting thing about this ending of the Royal Rumble, which is amazing, is that Flair gets a little bit. Hogan comes in. He's getting mad. He's going to hit him. Flair runs out with Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect raises his hands. Hogan's in the ring pointing at him. And Flair can't even enjoy his victory. He has to go to the back. But of course, it leads to this iconic moment. So Hogan's in there. Sid's right behind him. Sid pushes him in the head, which is the most bully move ever, where he didn't push him in the back. He pushed him in the back of the head. They're about to go at it. All the referee officials are inside. There's can't remember his name, but there's Pat Patterson. Who's the other guy? Anyway. So this is all happening, and the focus isn't on Flair yet. The focus is on the big guys. And now we're going to go to the back where Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect are going to be interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund, and you're going to have that famous "with a tear in my eye," which I've always wanted to do something that I can say that. I don't want to cry, but I want to give the
with a tear in my eye.
No ho-ass comments on social media. Now I don't have to do play-by-play by this anymore. So Heenan runs out of there and runs to the back, which makes it even cooler because we just got done with him giving an epic play-by-play where he wasn't even hiding that he was clearly all for Flair. Go ahead. What did you want to tell me?
Oh, I forgot, dude.
And then here's the other interesting. Here's the thing that I take away from this whole thing. Because Flair's been great, and I've been critical of him, and like we just talked about Dynamite stuff, because I feel like he's just diminishing his legacy the longer he's around. Some of these guys just can't help themselves, like Pete Rose. And as much as Flair was a man of worker, he did a solid hour, but how great were Mr. Perfect and Bobby Heenan and Gene Okerlund, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
How amazing were those three guys in addition to Flair after that moment? Okerlund, I mean, we didn't appreciate, at least I don't think a lot of people do, how great of a stick man he was. We've got all these nameless Instagram influencer models on Raw and SmackDown. I can't tell you who these girls are. You've got Renee Paquette, who's just kind of with her career in recent years. I'm sorry. I don't think AEW, I think she was somebody in WWE, but AEW, it's ridiculous. The only one that I feel that pops out to me that's decent is what's her name that does Ring of Honor and AEW sometimes. The one that's engaged to Big Bill. She kind of does a
Oh
good
yeah,
job.
Lexi, whatever, right?
Lexi, yeah. Diamond Dallas Page's
By the
daughter
way,
is
good
starting
for
to
Big Bill, dude.
good for Big Bill. You got a
Good for
bad
him,
name, but you got a really good fiance there, huh, Big Bill?
dude. I
But
mean, that's like, dude, he can go to schools and telling people like, if you get sober, you can have that on the other end.
Okerlund was the man. He made everything feel bigger. There's a complaint right now, and again, I know I bring up football a lot, but Al Michaels, they didn't put him in the playoff. The guy's 79 years old. They complain they don't that he's not excited enough about. But when Al Michaels calls a game to me, it's a big game because he's been there. This is a guy that called, "Do you believe in miracles?" and everything. Okerlund Okerlund, all these interviews and everything were amazing.
Oh, dude, here's some weird trivia. Do you know Okerlund's kid played for the 1984 U.S. Olympic hockey team?
No,
Yeah,
that's
I wouldn't have
crazy.
never said it except you just said the whole miracles, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. As a kid, I remember I was watching the Olympics, and they were like, oh yeah, that's his father is Mean Gene Okerlund from the WWF, and I was like, whoa! As a kid, I like blew my mind. I think it was 84. It could have been 88. Pretty sure it was 84.
I understand why they let him go to WCW, but you watch him, and then Mr. Perfect here, who's
We're
riding out a
live,
back
pal.
injury. How many? Yeah, exactly. How many years did Mr. Perfect lose to this back injury?
But you know the story though, right?
The Lloyd's of London thing, right?
Yeah, he had to deal with that. Like
Because they were the
in the
only
80s and
people.
90s, if you were there was one company in the world that would insure you for anything, no matter what. And these like and these wrestlers, it was a scam, right? It was a scam, right?
Yeah,
They
and they were
like
the
they
only
like
ones that didn't. Yeah,
wasn't like Jim Neidhart did it. Perfect. Pretty much all the guys from
Road
Minnesota
Warriors
did
did
it.
it.
It was
Yeah,
the Road
Rick
Warriors,
Rude,
Rude, Henning. Yeah, all the guys from that area all did it.
and they don't do it anymore,
So
but that was a big deal back then.
yeah, but so what they would say is like, oh well, I think Animal was like he couldn't have a singles match, and they didn't realize it's like, oh, so then he was just like, all right, well, I'll just wrestle tag team. It was like that kind of stuff where the people didn't know what like wrestling was, so they would have all these little rules that the wrestlers just find a way to get around all of them, and that's
And make
how
it
I was
extra.
like, yeah. So I'm sure I think they got like hundreds of thousands of dollars, dude.
That's pretty crazy, man. That's really crazy. But that's what I got from it. What do you want to say about this Royal Rumble?
Well, it's I mean, in its vacuum, it's a great rumble. It's probably one of the best ones, I think. But it's also known for like what didn't happen because everyone assumed that they were building towards this Flair and Hulk Hogan, obviously, and it just they did a house show loop, I think, a couple of them at the Garden, I think, and they did a few other ones, but everyone assumed that they were going to do the big, you know, champion of here versus champion of there, and they just didn't do it ever because Vince McMahon he won Sid, he wants that height, you know.
Yeah. And it never happened. Then it happened in WCW and it was sucky. It was unmemorable.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? It's not like Flair's not going to job or anything. It's like,
I remember the promo when they finally had one of them, or I don't think they had the first match, but one of the matches. And he got on the phone, and Flair was at like a restaurant with two hot babes on each side of him. And they came over and brought the phone to him. It was so weird. WCW did not know what they were doing. So even though he's on camera, he like picks up the phone. He's like, "Hello," and he's like, "Listen, brother, we're gonna have this fight, and I'm gonna put it all on the line." And he's like, "But if I win, you're done." And he's like, "I don't want any more of these Hulk Hogan brats anywhere." It was just so weird. So did you watch the '94 Royal Rumble?
yes. Oh, wait, did anything else cool happen in the 92 one?
I thought it was cool. The Undertaker was in there just being the Undertaker. like the first
Oh yeah,
real.
so that was like, dude, I think he arrived in WWF, I believe in either 91 or 90. And if it was 91, then that means he would have just got there 2 months earlier.
Right. And I thought it was cool to watch him. I really wish they had kind of done more of the, I like the older look to it. I know it was more cartoony, but when they started kind of modernize them, they went a little too far. But whatever. What are you gonna do? Jerry Saggs, Haku, Shawn Michaels, Tito Santana, the Barbarian, the Texas Tornado, Repo Man, Greg Valentine, Nikolai Volkov, Big Boss Man, Hercules, Roddy Piper, Jake Roberts.
Pause. Doing the Repo Man was like, dude, when he came out, I was losing it because I remember you were saying how much you liked the gimmick, and it wasn't as bad as people think it was. Dude, when he was like, "Oh, I have a chance to steal the belt from 29 other superstars." Dude, just the way he said it was so funny. It was so funny. It's like, dude, you're not gonna win, bro. You're not gonna win.
It's so weird too. You watch that and you're like, that guy was Smash. No, was he Axe or Smash? I think it was Axe.
He was Smash, and he was also Crusher Khrushchev. So he was the third Russian. It was Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff, and then they had a Crusher because they'd have someone eat the pins.
And then when he went to WCW, he was the Black Top Bully, and then he was just Barry Darso, where he was dressed like he was playing golf.
Very weird.
So I'm just running through this. If you think of anything notable here, Jim Duggan, Erwin R. Shyster,
and this is 1994.
94. This is the order too. I'm reading them down the order of who came out first. Jimmy Snuka, Undertaker.
Also, I have a little comment about this. So in the other card, in all the other earlier stuff, they had the big match with Undertaker versus Yokozuna in the casket match. So they had like 12 bad guys come out, and it went on forever. And so all these bad guys, some of the guys who didn't even really like Diesel, I think, came out. They had a bunch of dudes who didn't really have anything to do with it, but they really needed an excuse to make Undertaker lose.
Was this
so 94? All these dudes, what's up? Yes.
It's the 94. We're on the 94 card. Go ahead.
So what I noticed was like, once all these dudes came, because it was like all the same guys that helped Yokozuna, they all came out in the Rumble. So it was like, oh, I saw these guys already. Like they came out. It wasn't a surprise. It was like, oh, well, so-and-so. So it was like you saw the same people again. That was the only thing that kind of took the air out of the room for me a little bit.
My God. Those Undertaker matches, though, were spectacles.
Dude, Yokozuna was so good. He was afraid of the casket.
Dude, yeah. The guy was like 26 years old. He was amazing when he'd act afraid. I mean, and there's something, again, can say this because I'm a fat guy, about a fat guy reeling back and falling on his ass because he's afraid of something. I mean, by the way, his acting was top level.
Oh,
Let's talk about Yokozuna's acting was top level. So before we get into the main event, so this is the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania 10.
Oh,
big deal.
Sorry, dude, I forgot. Can we make one addendum to 92? That was the first time Roddy Piper won a title when he beat the Mountie.
Oh, yeah. Big deal.
And that was the match when Owen Hart turned on Bret.
Jim Neidhart.
No, Bret.
Wait, what are we talking about? You were talking about 92.
I went back to 92 for just a second because there was two other.
So you're back. Yeah, you're throwing me off, man. What is going on?
Yeah, two like historical things that we missed. You know what I mean? I don't want, I assume people they don't nerd out like we do. So I like to set the table.
So Bret Hart and Owen Hart had a fight at Survivor Series. Owen was the only one eliminated. This is one of the greatest feuds in wrestling, brother versus brother. And so they fought the Quebecers, who we had to talk about, which I think people should listen to the last episode about the Quebecers and the Mountie and how the Canadian government felt about the Mountie name. And the Quebecers, which, by the way, had Johnny Polo singing, "We're the Mounties, we're brave, we're bold, we're strong." That song was hilarious.
We're the Mounties.
And so Bret Hart, and this is Bret Hart's fault, by the way. I'll take Owen's side on this one. Was hurt. He got hurt during the match. And instead of tagging Owen in like he had the ability to on a couple of occasions, he tries to put on the sharpshooter, falls down in pain. The referee calls the match. Quebecers retain. Owen gets so mad,
Loses his goddamn mind.
rightfully so, that he was mad. But again, you shouldn't be hitting your brother. Kicks him in his bad leg, and history is made. And the Quebecers had come out with Johnny Polo, aka Raven. Isn't it crazy to see Johnny Polo, aka Raven, back then?
Yeah.
And what that character became. Yeah, well, you talked about that. So you had Yokozuna and The Undertaker had that infamous casket match. Was amazing, and that was the vignettes for that one were also amazing. I don't know if you remember those, because Yokozuna is not a normal sized man, so Undertaker had to build him a specially sized casket just for him. So the vignettes that aired on Superstars for weeks is him building this giant casket that Yokozuna could fit in. Amazing, amazing. Old school 1994 Undertaker building a casket.
Did the camera crew follow the Undertaker to like Home Depot, and then he met the assistant manager who like helped him on the project started?
No.
Do you think the Undertaker took some Mexicans home to help him make the casket?
He's like Fernando Sanders. He's like Francisco Amigo Catete
Amigo
Bueno. That would that, but have you should watch those. We'll talk about that on by text. Those are amazing because it's just him, and it's just him sawing, and then you get this giant. That casket, by the way, was one of the
huge,
greatest caskets ever.
It's so big, dude.
And they went out of their way to make it look like homemade, like he had actually made it, because it wasn't like a professional casket like the other ones. It was a giant wooden casket. I think they painted it black, right, at the end.
Yeah, yeah, that was like the pine box they give you if like they don't know what your name is or anything.
I mean, imagine you're a giant you're a sumo wrestler and you're claustrophobic. I mean, I hate being on planes and stuff like that. And not only are you afraid of death, you see a casket and you could fit in it. Like, how are you going to get out of that casket, my friend? That's it. All right. So going back to the Rumble matchup. Okay. Which is amazing. So Bret Hart is injured, but he's in the Rumble. And
Owen beats him up, and then he does that triumphant thing later on when he he walks out and he's dragging his leg behind him like he's Kaiser Soze, and you just hear all the high pitch. He was so over. You forget all the high pitched squeals when he came out, all the kids and all the girls.
And on top of that, the other storyline is that Lex Luger cannot challenge for the world title anymore because he didn't beat him. He beat Yokozuna by disqualification, but he couldn't get another title shot. The only way was the Royal Rumble. So you had these multiple storylines, and this was probably one of the most shocking Royal Rumbles for this reason. So number one, before we get to the ending, Scott Steiner comes out, Samu, then Rick Steiner. So you got two brothers and Samu. Then Quang. Remember Quang?
Yeah, who was that? Is that
Savio Vega?
Savio Vega. Okay, I thought so.
Owen Hart comes out. He's number 5. Bart Gunn. Diesel comes out. Diesel has one of the most epic showings ever. This is, his character was next to build up. He eliminates 7 people: Crush, Bam Bam Bigelow, Mabel, Thurman Sparky Plug, aka Bob Holly, and Shawn Michaels. All right, so after Diesel, Bob Backlund, Billy Gunn, Virgil, Randy Savage, Jeff Jarrett.
Dude, Virgil got a pop.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He got a pop.
Crush comes out. Doink the Clown. Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, you're forgetting Doink and Dink.
Oh, yeah.
Dink. Dude, the crowd went crazy when they saw little Dink.
So crazy. So ridiculous how that was. We have to talk about that one day. Bam Bam Bigelow, who's amazing. Mabel, which is yeah, Mabel.
Big boy.
Thurman Sparky Plug, aka Bob Holly, Shawn Michaels, Mo, who would later be known as Sir Mo after Mabel won the King of the Ring. Greg Valentine, Tatanka, the Great Kabuki, who was like an old school Asian wrestler.
Yeah, they had a lot of like random. Yeah, dude, they had a lot of random Asian dudes that were just evil Asian number 1, 2, 3, and 4. It was kind of funny. I didn't really realize that at the time, I guess.
So then after Lex Luger, Genichiro Tenryu, Bastion Booger,
Oh my god.
who was unable to compete due to illness. So Bastion Booger didn't come out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see him come out.
I don't know what that was about. Rick Martel, the model. Bret Hart is 27. Fatu's 28. 29 is Marty Jannetty. And number 30, Adam Bomb. So this all leads to, again, there's multiple storylines, and this all leads to, we get down to Bret Hart and Lex Luger. Owen gets out, everybody's out, and it comes down to the injured Bret Hart and Lex Luger. And both men get tangled up and go over the ropes, and they hit the ground at the same time. And for the first time and only time ever, we're given co-winners of the Royal Rumble, which leads to an amazing WrestleMania where both men end up getting a title shot, but to even it out, they flip a coin on a forget what show they flipped the coin on. And to even it out, Bret has to face Owen because whoever, because Yokozuna is going to face Lex Luger and the winner gets a second match. So Bret needs a second match. So he has to wrestle Owen.
And the very first match of WrestleMania 10.
Which is probably and arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, WrestleMania matchup. And hear me out, the opener. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. And we're not spoiling this stuff for you, but it's just so amazing. Owen upset Bret, who then later went on to win the championship.
And that crowd when Bret lost was like, what? Like no one saw that happening. No one called that.
And people forget that because after that matchup, Owen declared himself, which probably started the greatest era of Owen's career, the King of Hearts.
The King of Hearts.
Which is and then it's cool. Badass. Like Julia Hart is not the Queen of Hearts. She's just Goth Stevie Nicks.
Goth Stevie Nicks.
But Owen Hart was the King of Hearts.
And then it set up a really cool thing. And then Bret's going for the main event now. He has to deal with, he just got publicly embarrassed and lost right before his title match. So that all this cool drama that you didn't think was going to be there was there.
The equivalent, again, I don't know why I keep doing football analogies. The equivalent is you lose the SEC championship, but you make it into the college football playoffs and you win the championship. Even though the team that you just beat you just lost to another team a couple weeks. It was just a weird thing, but it was so great. And they held him on their shoulders. Macho Man, all of them came out. Razor Ramon, remember that?
Yep.
And Bret Hart and Bruce Pritchard and them, they'll credit him. Because he said, I'll get him over the rope. I'll make sure our feet touch the ground at the same time. How crazy does that sound? And he did it perfectly.
He did, yeah, he did.
If you break it down, you watch it. He tangled his legs with his legs. Momentum went over, and you can't tell who hit the ground first.
And they did a really cool job of like, they acted like no one there knew what was going on. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented. Like the one referee, they even played Lex's music. And then the crowd was like, what? And then they're like, no. And then they played Bret Hart's music and everyone cheered. And they're like, no. And then they said the whole, like,
right.
The winners of the Rumble. And everyone's like, oh.
The only thing you can compare to this one is the Royal Rumble. I forget what year it is, but it's notable for so many reasons. Final two men, John Cena and Batista, and Cena or Batista accidentally went over with Cena. And again, it was kind of, I think that one had a little more you could argue, but you couldn't tell who won anyway. So Vince had to come out, and while he was trying to improvise, he slid into the ring and tore both of his quads.
Yeah, so he's sitting in the ring, and it looks so awkward because he's sitting in the ring, but he's like barking. In real life, he's barking demands. He's telling them, "Dude, we need a winner," but he's kayfabing. But he's trying. But he's also he just pulled his muscle off the bone
On both of his legs.
Yeah, and he's sitting in the corner, and and he can't get up, and it looks so weird. He's like the boss, and he's yelling at him. And if you didn't know what was happening, you're like, "Why is he sitting down?" I mean, it was clear something happened, but
yeah. But again, two of the greatest Royal Rumbles we just went over ever, my friend.
Kris, maybe next week we should pick our favorite match from a Rumble.
And, you do and then, that. You do up? That. You do that. I'm going to talk about my experience at that one, though.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah, totally.
Works for me. It's amazing because there's amazing being there. I've been to some very random WWE events, but I saw some notable things. But that was an interesting day.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll go over just some of it and everything. But Kris Tinkle, Vic Garcia. Kris.
Oh, we didn't even talk about SmackDown.
We did. We went over the AOP and that. We'll get over. And I'm just gonna.
But we didn't. We didn't talk about the Fatal 4-Way now that's going to be at the Rumble.
Well, yeah, we didn't. I think we should talk about that again. But I'm gonna basically say what I would say before, and I'll say it right now, and we'll give it a minute here. Nick Aldis is the greatest thing to happen to SmackDown in a while.
Oh,
I've been underrated. The way that character spoke to Paul Heyman after, like, all right, you did it. You want to do that? Now he's going to face 4. It was cool.
It was cool, and he only told him, and then the camera showed Heyman's face, and then you saw Roman Reigns celebrating in the ring, not knowing that he's got some real bad news. It was cool. It was, and then I heard, too, that the audience there live didn't know about that because it wasn't on the mic, so it was only for the home audience.
And I liked it. I really did. I'm honestly going to say this. I think what's his name is being a huge credit to that program, and it's breathing new life into this Bloodline storyline.
And also, Nick Aldis can go also, so that's like a cool thing they have up their sleeve too.
Yeah, because at some point he could put the tights on. And it won't be like just some GM. It won't be like John Laurinaitis in the People Power suit.
Oh my God.
But I like it. I like it a lot. And we'll get into the Bloodline more next week.
Yeah.
Right?